A Range Rover. Now I bet you're expecting to see an upright, regal SUV that's suitable only for a lord or the Queen.
No. This is the Range Rover Velar, and would you just look at it?
Isn't it stunning? It's the fourth Range Rover in the lineup and sits between the Evoque and the Sport, and it can count everything from a Jaguar F-Pace to a Porsche Cayenne as a rival due to its size and large engine range. The Velar name was what the original prototype Range Rovers were called in the 1960s, but that's as old as the Velar gets. With its sloping roofline, tapered rear end and pop-out door handles, it's sleek, stylish and ultra-cool. And that's just the outside.
It gets better in here as well. Now there is quite a lot to talk about, I admit, so I shall keep this as brief as possible. Now, all cars come as standard with two screens. This one here tilts forwards when you get in and switch on the ignition, as such, and this is home to your navigation, your media and your phone, whereas the screen down here is home to the terrain response system, the climate control settings, the seat settings and so on and so forth. There are only three physical buttons, these two rotary knobs here and the volume knob. And all but the entry-level car has a TFT screen for your instruments, just like you find on the Big Daddy Range Rover. Now the sense of quality in here is mostly very good indeed. There's lots of lovely leathers, lots of nice plastics, just as you find on the big Range Rover. However, if you look very closely down here, there are some scratchy plastics. Now there is quite a lot of storage in here. The first thing I really got to show you, and I really do like, is you just press the Land Rover button here and you've got a little cup holder. That's one of three cup holders because there's another two there. Under here we've got another little space for the USB charging ports. We've got the remote for the infotainment system, and the glove box is large enough for a 1.5 litre bottle of water, and so are the door bins.
Entry-level Velars come with those two central screens, imitation leather seats, autonomous emergency braking, keyless entry, cruise control, 18-inch alloys and LED headlights. S costs another £5,000 and gets those TFT dials, leather, electric seats and a Meridian stereo. SE comes next, while HSE tops the range with its matrix lights and passive safety systems. Our dynamic cars, like we have here, add sporty styling, while for the first year on sale there's a first edition with virtually every option ticked.
Back here, and it's a bit of a mixed bag really. Now it's fine for me, I'm just over 5'10" and I've got a decent amount of knee room and a good amount of headroom. However, if you've got a 6-foot driver and a 6-foot passenger back here, I think they may struggle for space. Now, like I say, I don't struggle for space at all, but it does feel claustrophobic back here. And that's because the bench seat is positioned quite low. We've got dark roof lining and these windows are quite slitty and they are quite high up. There are quite a lot of conveniences back here. We've got these airline style pockets here. On this R Dynamic model, we've got a rear seat entertainment system with some natty little earphones as well, which is quite nice. We've got our climate control settings down there. Where do you put your USB charging ports? I hear you asking. Well, you pull down the armrest and there's the bank of them there. That's quite neat. A couple of cup holders as well. You are going to struggle to fit 3 people back here though. The seat in the middle is quite narrow and the footwells are very small, so everyone's going to be struggling for foot space. Round to the boot, and in terms of size, the Velar fits between the Audi Q5 and the Audi Q7. And yet, despite the curvaceous proportions of the Velar, it actually has quite a big boot. It's a good size and shape as well, nice and square. One thing to mention though, if you go for the spare wheel, you don't get any underfloor storage. Let's grab the Carbuyer large suitcase and you can see there is a lot of space in there. Now you can fold down the rear seats, the 60/40 folding rear seats with the handles, and when you do that you've got an almost flat loading area. However, there is one bad thing about this boot, and you can see that there's a step down from the boot floor onto the backs of the seats, which does mean pushing those items forwards is just a little bit harder than it should be. One other thing about the Velar is that unlike the Big Daddy Range Rover, you don't get a split tailgate, which is a bit of a shame really. You can still sit here and put on your welly boots, but it hasn't got quite the elegance of the big Range Rover.
The Velar is offered with 3 diesels and 3 petrols. The D180 and D240 diesels are 2-litre 4-cylinders, while the D300 is a 3-litre V6. Those after a petrol Velar can have the 4-cylinder 2-litre P250 and P300 engines, and there's also a 3-litre P380 V6 supercharged petrol.
The 2-litre engines are absolutely fine, they're efficient and economical enough, but the 3-litre diesel we've got here is the cream of the range. It is so waftable, it's the power delivery is smooth, punchy, and it's mated to an 8-speed automatic gearbox that just fires through gears so seamlessly. It really makes the Velar a really wonderful, refined and cosseting car to travel around in.
Economy is roughly what you'd expect from a large SUV. Choose a Velar with a diesel engine and you'll officially see between 52 and 44 mpg, but the best the petrol range can manage is 37 mpg, officially dropping to 30 mpg with the supercharged V6.
Now, whilst the Velar is more comfort orientated, it still doesn't mean it doesn't handle. This is the most dynamic Range Rover in the range, says Land Rover, and they're not kidding. The chassis feels nice and agile, the steering is a bit slow, but it's direct enough, and there's good body control. Now, you can go for air suspension for £1,000, or if you go for the V6 versions, air suspension comes as standard, and it's great. It doesn't mean the body rolls around too much, and the air suspension also rides out the worst potholes.
Something else you'll need to be aware of is Land Rover's reliability reputation. With a 24th place out of 27 manufacturers in our 2017 Driver Power Customer Satisfaction Survey, you'd hardly call it glowing. Perhaps more worryingly, over 1 in 5 Land Rover owners reported a fault with their car in our poll.
Now, there is one big negative thing about the Velar, and that comes down to price. Yes, you may well be able to buy one for just under £45,000, but you won't want it because it comes with virtually no equipment whatsoever. So you're going to be looking at something around £60,000 for something that has all the tech that you want. And bear in mind, the range tops out with the first edition that is over £84,000. And I'm sorry, but that is just way too much money.
And the only other thing to mention is that while those touchscreens look fabulous, they are difficult to use on the move. But the Velar is an ultra-desirable SUV. It has the same special feeling you get when you drive the big Range Rover. And while it is pricey, who said style and fashion come cheap? If you liked this video, watch our review of the Volvo XC60 or our SUVs playlist. And don't forget to press the Carbuyer logo to subscribe to our channel.